Listen to a conversation between two friends about Shackletow's endurance expedition. As you listen, complete notes 1 to 6 with the missing information.
I've decided to focus my presentation on Shackleton's endurance expedition. Have you heard much about it?
Quite a bit. It's often regarded as one of the greatest survival stories in history. The expedition began in 1914 when Sir Ernest Shackleton set out to cross Antarctica.
That was an ambitious objective, especially considering the technology available at the time.
Indeed. Unfortunately, the team never managed to complete the crossing. Before they could reach the continent properly, their ship, the Endurance, became trapped in sea ice in the Weddell Sea.
How long was it stuck there?
For several months. The crew hoped the ice would eventually break apart, but instead the pressure increased and gradually crushed the vessel.
So they had to abandon it?
Exactly. Once the ship became uninhabitable, the men established camps on the ice and survived under extremely harsh conditions.
That can't have been easy. How did they manage?
They relied on limited supplies, hunted seals and penguins, and rationed their food carefully. Shackleton also worked hard to maintain morale among the crew.
Leadership seems to have played a crucial role.
Absolutely. Rather than allowing panic to spread, he kept the men focused on achievable goals. Eventually, they reached Elephant Island, which offered temporary safety but was far too remote for rescue ships to visit regularly.
Is that when Shackleton undertook the famous boat journey?
Yes. He selected a small group of men and sailed more than 1,300 kilometres across some of the roughest seas in the world to reach South Georgia Island.
That's remarkable. Was he successful?
He was. After several attempts, he organised a rescue mission and returned for the remaining crew members.
And everyone survived, didn't they?
They did. Despite the loss of the Endurance and the immense challenges they faced, every member of the expedition was rescued alive.
No wonder the expedition is still studied today.
Exactly. It's remembered not for achieving its original aim, but for demonstrating extraordinary resilience, determination, and leadership.
Listen to a talk about the Great Fire of London. Then answer questions 7 to 10 by choosing the best answer, A, B, C, or D.
Today, I'd like to shed some light on one of the most devastating events in British history, the Great Fire of London. The catastrophe broke out in the early hours of the 2nd of September 1666 in a bakery on Pudding Lane. What initially appeared to be a minor incident soon spiralled out of control and engulfed much of the city. Several factors contributed to the rapid spread of the blaze. To begin with, London had experienced an exceptionally dry summer, leaving buildings highly vulnerable to fire. In addition, houses were constructed from timber and stood cheek by jowl with one another, allowing the flames to leap from building to building with alarming ease. To make matters worse, a strong easterly wind fanned the flames and hampered efforts to bring the situation under control. As the fire raged on, thousands of residents were forced to flee at a moment's notice. Many abandoned their homes and possessions in a desperate bid to save their lives. The streets were thrown into chaos and panic swept across the city. It was not until the Duke of York ordered the demolition of several buildings to create fire breaks that the authorities began to gain the upper hand. By By the time the fire was finally extinguished, roughly 80% of London had been reduced to ruins. Although remarkably few people lost their lives, more than 13,000 houses had been destroyed, leaving countless families homeless. Nevertheless, the disaster also paved the way for significant changes in urban planning and building regulations, helping to shape the modern city we know today. In hindsight, the Great Fire of London stands as a stark reminder of how a seemingly insignificant event can have far-reaching consequences.
Listen to a talk about the economic impact of the film industry and answer questions 11 to 15.
Today, I'd like to discuss the growing role of the film industry in national economies. Although films are primarily associated with entertainment, their economic influence extends into numerous sectors and can have far-reaching effects on a country's development. In recent decades, governments and business leaders have increasingly recognized the film industry as a valuable source of employment, investment, and international exposure. To begin with, film production generates jobs on a considerable scale. While actors and directors are often the most visible participants, a successful production depends on the contributions of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of professionals. These include screenwriters, camera operators, lighting technicians, editors, costume designers, makeup artists, sound engineers, and marketing specialists. In addition, large productions create demand for workers in supporting industries, such as catering, accommodation, transportation, and security. Another significant contribution is the promotion of tourism. Films frequently showcase landscapes, cities, and cultural landmarks to global audiences. When viewers develop an interest in these locations, they may choose to visit them in person. This phenomenon, often referred to as film-induced tourism, has generated substantial revenue for many destinations. Hotels, restaurants, tour operators, and local retailers can all benefit from increased visitor numbers. Furthermore, a thriving film industry can strengthen a country's international reputation. Successful films often introduce global audiences to a nation's culture, history, and creative talent. This increased visibility can encourage not only tourism, but also business partnerships and future investment opportunities. For smaller countries in particular, cinema can serve as a powerful form of international promotion. Despite these benefits, some critics question whether public funding for film projects always delivers sufficient economic returns. They argue that certain productions fail to achieve commercial success and may not generate the level of economic activity originally anticipated. However, supporters maintain that the long-term advantages often outweigh the risks, especially when successful productions continue to attract visitors and investment years after their release. Looking ahead, many analysts predict that the industry's economic importance will continue to expand. The rapid growth of streaming services has enabled films to reach audiences in virtually every corner of the world. As a result, production companies are investing heavily in new content, creating additional opportunities for countries seeking to develop their creative industries. In conclusion, the film industry should be viewed not merely as a source of entertainment, but as a strategic economic asset. Through job creation, tourism, foreign investment, and international visibility, it can make a substantial contribution to national prosperity.
Questions 21 to 30. Listen to 5 different extracts. For each extract, answer the 2 questions that follow. Choose the correct answer, A, B, C, or D. Extract 1.
When I first moved into this neighbourhood, I assumed it would simply function as a practical place to live, somewhere quiet to return to after long working days, without much interaction with others. However, over time, my perception has changed quite significantly. I've come to truly appreciate the strong sense of community that exists here. Residents are not isolated from one another. Instead, they actively participate in organising a wide variety of local initiatives. These include seasonal charity events, weekend street markets, and occasional cultural gatherings that bring together people of different ages and backgrounds. Such activities help foster familiarity among neighbours and create a genuine sense of belonging. That said, life here is not without its drawbacks. One issue that has become increasingly noticeable is the rise in traffic volume, particularly during rush hours when commuters flood the main roads. This has led to delays and occasional frustration among residents. Even so, many people are proactive in addressing these concerns through community forums and local associations.
Extract 2.
Have you noticed how significantly ride-sharing platforms have become integrated into daily urban life?
Definitely. I think their biggest advantage is how practical they are, especially in areas where public transport is either infrequent or not particularly reliable.
That's true, although there's an ongoing debate. Some critics argue that these services may actually worsen traffic density in already crowded city centres.
That might be the case in certain situations, but on the other hand, they offer a level of flexibility that traditional transport often cannot match. For people who do not want the financial burden of owning and maintaining a private vehicle, especially in metropolitan areas, they can be extremely convenient.
I can't argue with that. The ease of access does make them very appealing overall.
Extract 3.
Do you think maintaining friendships becomes more complicated as people grow older?
In many respects, yes. As people transition into adulthood, professional responsibilities and family obligations tend to take up a significant portion of their time, leaving fewer opportunities for regular social interaction.
That's very true. However, I also think friendships often become more intentional. People are more selective about who they invest their energy in.
Exactly. Instead of having a wide circle of acquaintances, many adults end up with fewer friendships, but those relationships tend to be deeper and more resilient.
Extract 4.
Living in an apartment can be an appealing option for many people, particularly those who value convenience and accessibility. One of the main advantages is location. Apartment buildings are frequently situated near essential amenities, such as supermarkets, restaurants, and public transport networks, making daily life more efficient. Additionally, maintenance responsibilities are generally reduced compared to owning a standalone house, since building management often handles repairs and upkeep. However, this lifestyle also involves certain compromises. Because walls, floors, and ceilings are shared with neighbours, noise can occasionally become a disturbance. Everyday sounds from adjacent units may be more noticeable than in detached housing. Furthermore, residents often have to adjust to more limited personal space, which can affect their sense of privacy.
Extract 5.
In recent years, remote working has become an increasingly widespread arrangement across many industries. A key advantage of this shift is the flexibility it provides, allowing employees to structure their schedules more freely and avoid the need for daily commuting. As a result, many workers report improvements in their overall work-life balance and reduced daily stress. Nevertheless, this model is not without its disadvantages. One common issue is the sense of social and professional isolation that employees may experience when working away from colleagues for extended periods. In addition, communication can sometimes become less efficient compared to face-to-face interaction in a traditional office setting. For this reason, organisations often need to develop new strategies to maintain collaboration and ensure team cohesion remains strong.
Questions 31 to 40. You will hear a speaker talking about the experience of working in another country.
In recent decades, an increasing number of professionals have chosen to pursue career opportunities abroad. While working in a foreign country can be an exciting and rewarding experience, it also presents several challenges that individuals may not anticipate before relocating. One common difficulty is adapting to a different workplace culture. Expectations regarding communication, teamwork, and decision-making can vary considerably from one country to another. Employees who are unfamiliar with these differences may initially struggle to integrate into their new working environment. Language barriers can also create obstacles. Even people with a good command of the local language may find it difficult to understand regional accents, informal expressions, or industry-specific terminology. As a result, misunderstandings can occasionally occur in professional situations. Another challenge involves building a social network. Many expatriates leave behind friends and family when they move overseas, and establishing new relationships often takes time. This can lead to feelings of loneliness, particularly during the first few months. Despite these difficulties, working abroad offers numerous benefits. Individuals often develop greater independence, gain valuable international experience, and improve their communication skills. Many employers view overseas work experience as evidence of adaptability and cultural awareness. Experts suggest that people planning to work abroad should research local customs, learn as much of the language as possible, and actively participate in social and professional activities after arriving.
Questions 41 to 45. Listen to a tour guide talking about the history of Downing Street. Choose the correct answer, A, B, C, or D.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before we proceed to our next stop, I'd like to draw your attention to one of the most recognisable addresses in the United Kingdom, Downing Street. Although it is now synonymous with British political leadership, its origins were rather different from what many people assume. The street was commissioned in the 1680s by Sir George Downing, an influential diplomat and entrepreneur. His intention was to establish an exclusive residential development within easy reach of both Parliament and the royal court. At the time, the project was regarded as ambitious and prestigious. However, historians have noted that the houses were erected with remarkable speed, and this haste ultimately compromised the quality of construction. As the decades passed, various structural deficiencies began to emerge. The property that later achieved international prominence was number 10 Downing Street. Contrary to popular belief, it was never specifically designed to serve as the Prime Minister's residence. In 1732, King George II presented the building to Sir Robert Walpole, who is widely regarded as Britain's first Prime Minister. Walpole agreed to accept the gift only on the understanding that it would be attached to the office itself, rather than becoming part of his personal estate.
Over the centuries, the building underwent numerous modifications in an attempt to preserve its functionality. By the mid-20th century, surveys revealed extensive deterioration beneath the structure. Engineers discovered that weaknesses in the foundations posed a significant risk, making comprehensive restoration unavoidable. During the 1960s, an extensive renovation program was carried out to reinforce the building while preserving its historical character. Today, Downing Street remains a focal point of British government and continues to feature prominently in international news coverage. Although stringent security arrangements prevent unrestricted public access, the location retains enormous historical and political significance. Consequently, it remains a major attraction for visitors eager to gain insight into Britain's political heritage.
Number 41. What was Sir George Downing's primary objective in developing Downing Street? Number 42. What does the speaker suggest about the original construction of the houses? Number 43. Why did Sir Robert Walpole agree to accept number 10? Number 44. Why was extensive renovation undertaken during the 1960s? Number 45. What does the speaker say about Downing Street today? Questions 46 to 50. Listen to a farewell speech given by a university principal who is retiring after many years of service. Choose the correct answer, A, B, C, or D.
Good evening, colleagues, students, alumni, and distinguished guests. Standing before you today is both a privilege and an emotional experience. After more than 25 years at this institution, the time has come for me to step down as principal and begin a new chapter in my life. When I first arrived here, the university was considerably smaller than it is today. Over the years, we have expanded our academic programs, established international partnerships, and invested heavily in research facilities. None of these accomplishments would have been possible without the dedication and perseverance of countless individuals who have contributed to the university's success. Of course, our journey has not been without obstacles. We have faced periods of financial uncertainty, rapidly changing educational demands, and more recently, the unprecedented challenges posed by global events. Nevertheless, I have consistently been inspired by the resilience, creativity, and determination demonstrated by both staff and students.
One of the aspects I will miss most is the daily interaction with members of our university community. Some of my most rewarding experiences have come not from major achievements or public recognition, but from witnessing students develop confidence, discover their passions, and exceed their own expectations. As I prepare to leave this role, I do so with immense gratitude. I am deeply appreciative of the support, friendship, and encouragement I have received throughout my career. Although I may be retiring from my position, my connection with this university will undoubtedly continue. I am confident that the institution's future is exceptionally bright. The next generation of leaders, researchers, and educators possesses remarkable talent, and I look forward to observing the university's continued progress in the years ahead. Thank you all for making this journey so meaningful.
Number 46. How does the speaker feel about leaving the university? Number 47. What does the speaker imply about the university's development during his leadership? Number 48. What characteristic of the university community does the speaker particularly admire? Number 49. According to the speaker, what has been the most meaningful aspect of his career? Number 50. What prediction does the speaker make about the university?